50 Ways to Live Your Time. Number 3. Archie, the Cross, and Jesus Christ by Kosen Handa. The light as Lucifer after his fall is the light that crosses in the left and right directions, and it is the light that travels at 300,000 kilometers per second. The light as Lucifer before his fall is the light that exists in the depths direction, but it also travels at 300,000 kilometers at infinite velocity. What exactly is the difference between those two lights? Depth, or the forward direction for a body, is not left-right or up-down, but in some particular direction. Our act of seeing can only occur in this forward direction. Phenomena are something that discloses themselves as light in front of our body. In his book Being and Time, the German philosopher Martin Heidegger defined phenomenon as that which shows itself in itself. He saw the fundamental task of phenomenology as bringing being into the midst of phenomena that are the object of our senses and constitute our experiences. Being is the most self-evident and befitting the name of the phenomenon. The word derived from the Greek word phenomenon, meaning things appearing to view, because it is understood a priori as the basis on which everything appears. Still, a word recognized after the ego I arises in one's consciousness, the phenomenon becomes hidden and functions anonymously. In this sense, the front perceived in the notion of space-time and the forward direction that exists before space-time rises to our consciousness need to be distinguished clearly. If we apply the same notion of width as the left-right direction to depth to make it have a distance, the phenomena's significance disappears. As Husserl saw it, phenomena are the naked front before any conjecture, i.e. doxa, gives them its interpretation. The phenomena, called pure perception, are squashed into a two-dimensional plane and made to exist as a kind of thin film, i.e. inframans, in the viewing space. In the previous video, I mentioned that the direction of depth is also the direction of space-time. Depth includes a passage of time as well as spatial distance. If this is the case, this perceptual reality, in which the depth is identified with a single point, also contains all the passage of time. Even if I was born 50 years ago, the flow of time since the beginning of the universe of 13.7 billion years folded into the depths of space in this pure perception. In other words, in the case of light that exists in the direction of depth, it is necessary to think of the here and now as the same thing as the plane where the universe began. What I always call Archie is this thin film of light. It's just like the skin of being. Archie equals to light. Attaining this realization is, in Noosology's terms, the actualization of the outside position of a human being. The true subject, which has been hidden in the workings of human consciousness until now, comes into appearance. The eternity of now exists in this infinitesimal thickness of depth, and That is the fundamental platform of the existence of I. This eternity is permanently attached to human existence as determinate beings. It is what the Christians would describe as I am here with God. This is Emmanuel, God with us. A philosopher might refer to it as the immovable earth. Only with this kind of thinking can we understand why the speed of light plays such a fundamental role in the theory of relativity. We can see the essential meaning of the four-dimensional invariant distance described as ds squared equals dx squared plus dy squared plus dz squared minus c squared dt squared and ds squared equals 0, which physicists have abandoned its interpretation. Space-time collapsed to an infinitesimal thickness before our eyes. This is the true nature of light as the basis of phenomena. Under the speed of light, the hands of the clock stop. Space shrinks to an infinitesimal length, and the world of quaternion vector equals to 0 appears. This is the true nature of light's spin. In other words, the fourth dimension, as a depth identical to a single point, signifies what Einstein calls light playing the role of infinite speed. And where this eternity stands upright to space-time, it's nothing but the position of the actual subject who perceives the flow of time. In short, the real subject is not who is seeing, nor what is being seen, but the backlight contained in the very act of seeing. When the human consciousness realizes this, all human beings can transform into the initiator of creation, that is, into Jesus Christ as our key. Isn't seeing itself the true subject? Correct. It means that the organism, the spirit without its katachi, the form, took the first structure. Then, the non-objective form becomes manifest under the eternal phase. Auguste called this katachi, the form, the original form of forms. It tells us that geometry is essentially meaningless unless in the locality of eternity. It is easy to understand this when you think about it carefully. In principle, human perception cannot construct a form in space-time. For example, what if we were to imagine a 380,000 kilometers long line connecting the Earth and the Moon? Even if we imagine following that line at the speed of light, it would take about 1.3 seconds in space-time. But as you can see, if you check your actual conscious activities, you don't need any time at all to imagine a line segment connecting them. A form is grasped instantly and immediately, no matter its size. And if it is not captured in an instant, the concept of form itself will be meaningless. When we recognize the four vertices that make up a tetrahedron, if there is a time lag in our understanding of each point, we cannot say anything about the shape of the tetrahedron. The true subject is eternity, and it is only through the coordination of the positions of this timeless subject that geometry is constituted. Human consciousness, has started gearing toward seeing katachi, the form. What we mean by katachi, the form, is not what it's seen, but what it's seeing. Place an invisible cross inscribed with the x-axis and y-axis on the viewing space in front of you. Then, think about the meaning of the body of light being crucified there. More specifically, contemplate the intention of the third dimension, the z-axis, which is imagined standing vertically from the cross. The spatial depth identified with the width as the z-axis direction corresponds to the sphere of Longinus, or to say Cassius, stuck in the side of Jesus, and it implies the abyss that prevents human consciousness from connecting to Sirius. The ruler of this abyss is time, the true nature of the human dimension.